In 1972, a group of scientists asked a question that would haunt us for the next 50 years. They plugged all of our society's data, our growth, our consumption, our pollution, into a new supercomputer at MIT. And they asked it a simple question: how long can this last? The computer's answer was terrifying. It printed out a timeline, showing our global society beginning to crumble and collapsing by the year 2040. For decades, that date seemed impossibly far away. It was a problem for our children, or our children's children. But then, just last year, a senior analyst at one of the world's largest firms reran the numbers. She compared our real world, right now, to that old computer's 50-year-old prediction. Her conclusion? We're not just on track for collapse. We're ahead of schedule. For the past 10,000 years, the story of humanity has been a story of empires that rise, and empires that fall. Great civilizations, reduced to nothing more than dust and broken pottery. We look at their ruins and wonder, what went wrong? Historians can debate the specifics, but the reasons always fall into the same handful of categories: political rot, cultural decay, environmental disaster, and the one that connects them all, economic failure. Some collapses were sudden. The city of Pompeii, buried in ash in a single afternoon. Others took a few months, like the Aztec Empire falling to the Spanish. And some, like Rome, took centuries to die. Our modern, global civilization is different. It's not just another empire. It's like comparing a jet engine to a donkey. We are thousands of times more advanced, more connected, and wealthier than any society that has ever existed. If you are watching this, you have access to the internet. That simple fact makes you wealthier in knowledge than any king who lived just a century ago. You have air conditioning, clean water from a tap, food that won't kill you. You can listen to any song ever recorded, instantly. If you gave me a choice between my 2-bedroom apartment today and a sprawling 15th century French palace with no plumbing, no AC, and rats in the kitchen, I'm taking the apartment every single time. And you would too. We are living in a golden age. The most peaceful, most prosperous, most technologically miraculous time in all of human history. But this is the problem. Our world is a jet engine. It's unbelievably powerful, but it's also unbelievably fragile. A jet engine is a network of millions of tiny, interconnected parts, all working in perfect harmony. One tiny flaw, one broken component, and the whole thing comes crashing down. A donkey, on the other hand, is resilient. And when you're flying at 30,000 feet, even a small hiccup becomes a catastrophe. Most of us, myself included, wouldn't know how to survive for a week if the grocery stores suddenly went empty. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This isn't just doomsday speculation. This is about that MIT study. So let's break it down. What did those scientists actually see? What were the warning signs? And how could a computer from 1972, with less power than your coffee maker, predict our future with such terrifying accuracy? The report was called The Limits to Growth, and it was one of the first studies in history to use a computer model to simulate the entire world. They called it World 3. It was designed to act like our real world. It understood that everything is connected, that you can't change one thing without changing everything else. For example, a bigger population needs more food and more houses. But a bigger population also means more brains, a better chance of finding the next Einstein or Elon Musk. It's a feedback loop. This is something economists struggle with all the time. But the World 3 model embraced it. It had systems for birth rates, farming technology, resource discovery, pollution, everything. But out of all those hundreds of variables, the scientists were only interested in tracking five vital signs for planet Earth: population, food production, industrial output, pollution, and natural resources. Think of them as the 5 gauges on the dashboard of our civilization. As long as they're in the green, we're okay. But if one of them starts to redline, it can pull all the others down with it. For example, a decline in population could lead to a decline in food production. That's one thing. But a decline in food production, leading to a decline in population, that's a very different, and much scarier, scenario. So, what did the computer say? The researchers knew that predicting the future exactly is impossible, so they ran the simulation thousands of times, changing the starting conditions for each run. In some simulations, they assumed technology would save us, giving us things like lab-grown food and unlimited clean energy. In others, they assumed our progress would slow to a crawl. They modeled every realistic future they could imagine. And what they found was chilling. Almost every single simulation, no matter the starting point, showed the same thing: a sudden, sharp, uncontrollable decline sometime around the year 2040. The researchers highlighted a few key scenarios. The best-case scenario was called the comprehensive technology model. In this future, technology advances just fast enough to solve our problems as they arise. Pollution spikes, but we invent a way to clean it up. Resources get scarce, but we figure out how to recycle everything perfectly. Our population stops growing not because of famine or war, but because people in wealthy societies naturally choose to have smaller families. It's not a utopia, growth flatlines, but it's not a collapse either. We survive. But here's the bad news. When the follow-up study was done last year, they found that our reality is not tracking this optimistic path. Not even close. Instead, the path we are actually on, the one our real-world data fits with frightening accuracy, is a scenario the researchers called business as usual too. And it's a nightmare. In this model, pollution continues to skyrocket, poisoning our farmland and our water. Our industrial output soars to new heights for a little while. And then, the fall. A sharp drop in food production leads to famine in poor countries and skyrocketing prices in rich ones. The population begins to die off. A lack of young, healthy workers causes industry to grind to a halt. Easily accessible resources are gone. The entire global system that provides us with our phones, our food, and our medicine breaks down. I said earlier I'd rather be a middle-class person today than a king 150 years ago. If this model plays out, I'd rather be a middle-class person today than a king just 20 years from now. And that is a genuinely terrifying thought. So, is there any hope? Is there a way out? Or are we just passengers on a plane that's headed for a mountainside? The biggest criticism of this model has always been that it underestimates human ingenuity. That when our backs are against the wall, we innovate. We solve problems. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? We can see it happening now. The explosion in solar and wind power is something the 1972 model could never have predicted. We are making progress. But the question is, are we making it fast enough? I want to be optimistic. I really do. But my opinion doesn't matter. What matters is the research. Research from some of the smartest people on the planet, using the best data we have. And their data is telling us that the warning lights on our dashboard are flashing red. The best case scenario is that this was all a massive overreaction, a ghost story told by old computers. The worst case scenario, well, I guess we all need to start learning how to find food in the woods.